So Bitcoin is showing weakness across multiple timeframes, and we are repeating the exact same bearish structure we have done twice before. So if this pattern continues to unfold the way it has done, a $50,000 price tag for Bitcoin could be next. But here's where it gets interesting. Every single time Bitcoin creates maximum fear, it sets up the next massive opportunity. So the real question is, are we actually entering into a deeper correction, or is this the final shakeout before a major expansion move? So in this video, I'm going to show you why the weekly order block changes everything, how the repeating bearish structure on the daily is potentially unfolding again, and the exact 50k projection level. We also have a trade that I positioned into after yesterday's rejection. So there's no emotions, no guessing, just simply structure, data, and execution. So if you enjoy this sort of content and are serious about positioning before the next move, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join our free Telegram below. Because when fear peaks, opportunity tends to follow. This is Bitcoin on point. Let's dive into the content, and we're going to begin with the macro backdrop for today. And in just 1 hour, over $75 billion was wiped out from the crypto market. Now, the reasoning behind this is geopolitical escalations. We've got Israel that's just launched strikes on Iran, and this has triggered immediate risk off across global markets. Bitcoin has dropped towards 63k, and Ethereum has flushed near 1.84k. And on top of that, in the space of 15 minutes, over $100 million in leveraged longs were liquidated. One thing this tells us is it's definitely not organic selling, right? This is forced selling pressure. It's leverage getting completely wiped out. But with that being said, the important part is when liquidations like this happen in such a short time duration, it's usually emotion driven, right? It's not necessarily a structural collapse. Now, on top of that, whilst retail is panic selling, Elon Musk's 1.25 trillion AI company XAI is now hiring Bitcoin and crypto experts. You know, that's not a bearish signal. That's a signal of infrastructure building. So mainstream integration is actually accelerating quietly in the background amongst all of the noise. Now, on one side, we've got geopolitical fear, leverage getting flushed, and emotional volatility. And on the other, we've got billion-dollar companies that are hiring, institutional accumulation, and infrastructure continues to expand. So what this tells me is how, and essentially, this is how markets reset short-term chaos into long-term adoption. Now, with the macro wrapped up, let's take this straight into the technicals, and we're going to begin with Bitcoin on its weekly time frame. And this is where the order block comes into play. So we have a range between $64,000 and $60,000 that we've been monitoring on the channel for at least a couple of weeks now. Now, this current weekly candle is showing continued bearish momentum, so actually tapping deeper into this block is a likely scenario. Now, scrolling over to the left, from 2024, Bitcoin had this major correction. And between sort of 60 to 50k is where bulls actually stepped in and showed demand and pushed Bitcoin to new all-time highs. So the reason we're expecting a potential low in this territory is because it's where bulls have defended before. So if Bitcoin can hold above 60k, then that would invalidate the continuation down to our 50k target below. Now, the reason 50k has significant importance and is a potential scenario is because it was previously a point of contact on a higher low ascending trend line that was building ever since 2023. So if we do see a deeper liquidity sweep and we actually lose this current order block, we may see some relief in the short term, but if it's lost, then 50k is a major target to look for serious upside potential. And remember, whenever Bitcoin crashes or corrects or enters into a bear market, it always offers long-term opportunity. Right? We saw it in 2023. We saw it in 2024. We saw it in the correction from January 2025 into April of 2025 before a push to a new all-time high. Yes, Bitcoin does go through major corrections and there is levels of support waiting below. It's a choppy area, but this is where historical opportunities are born. So between 60 to 50k is a major scenario to witness a bullish rebound. However, if that is also lost, there is the significant potential of actually tapping a deeper order block, which is at 40K from the lows back in January of 2024. So you see how we've got these two clusters. We've got the order block between 65 and 60K roughly. If that's lost, we have the 50K liquidity pocket below, which was support in 2024 as well on the ascending trend line. And if it gets any more sort of blood in the streets from then, we've got 40K from January and sort of early 2024 waiting below as well. So it's just offering maximum opportunity, right? The deeper this thing comes, whether support's respected on the first order block, the liquidity pocket in 50K or 40K, it's just major opportunity, guys. Now, taking this over to the daily time frame, actually, before we go into the 4-hour, and the reason we're expecting some sort of depreciation or continuation here is because Bitcoin is repeating a very similar structure that it has done in the past. And what we actually tend to see is these sort of lower highs forming and Bitcoin respecting this sort of bearish structure. So it creates lower highs, eventually loses support, breaks down to a new local low, forms the same pattern of resistance, support, had a fake out, a bullish fake out, continued to the downside, rejected, and has now entered into a very similar pattern. So if we continue to lose this white trend line, this is where the possibility of actually sweeping down into the lower sort of 60K at a minimum becomes a possibility. And again, if that is lost, then that's when the potential of actually dipping down to sort of 50K becomes a real possibility. So in short, for Bitcoin, it needs, on the larger time frames, it needs to respect 60K or risk dipping towards 50, right? But nonetheless, I do expect a bullish reaction at some point between this zone. That's what I'm trying to say. This is where opportunities are born. Now, let's wrap this up on Bitcoin by diving into the 4-hour, and this just sort of confirms the structure and the bearish momentum. So yesterday, we was talking about the deciding moment, and we actually saw, I said, well, if this level is cleared and we reclaim this green ascending support, that's where we could flip back to bullish and look to take out sort of 72K resistance. However, I also noted that if we continue to see rejection, there is lower lows that we're looking for. And we've tapped into one of those recently, which was at 63K. So these were the lows from sort of the 24th of February, a couple of days ago on Tuesday. And we've just revisited that zone. So if there's any further pain from here and Bitcoin continues to play sort of lower highs, then we're simply at least looking for a retracement to fill in the wick from early February at $60,000, right? So you can see how it all ties in together. The 4-hour is showing that deciding moment for weakness. The weekly here is respecting the order block still, but showing weakness on this weekly candle. And the daily is repeating a bull trap sort of setup scenario for the third time since we've actually began the decline in October of 2025. So we need to keep our eyes open here, don't we, guys? But don't worry, we'll have you tracked every step of the way here on the channel. Now let's take this over to our trading environment. This is where real fun begins, right? This is where activity is booming. Now, yesterday, we monitored and entered into an ETH short, and I have decided to bring my stop loss down to break even. Now, the reason we entered it is because we saw supply and a resistance point back on 2.1K. We had a vertical sort of move up into the resistance block, and then there was significant sell pressure. So we capitalized on this momentum. The risk originally scaled to 2% with 10x leverage, and I'm targeting around $1,785. Now, am I fully confident it drops straight there? Not necessarily, and that's why the risk is managed. Structure favors the downside, right? But protection of our capital always comes first. Now, let's take this over to our Aave update, and the long was closed at break even. And this is because it didn't make sense to actually be long on Aave whilst aggressively shorting on ETH, right? We need some sort of correlation. Correlation actually matters here. And again, capital protection matters also more than our ego in this sort of sense. So I did rotate the exposure into the higher probability setup, right? And that was into ETH. Now, with that being wrapped up, but actually, evidently, you can also see here for Aave, I did speak about this bullish reversal structure, and it didn't actually get the break on this last point of contact on resistance. It's now actually came back down to a level of support as well. So there potentially could be demand stepped in here, but look, we win some, we lose some, we simply move on. So now that we've wrapped up Aave and Ethereum, let's dive into our trading challenge update, where we're taking an account from $10,000 to $100,000. The account is currently up $1,161 with a win rate of 60%, 10 total trades. You know, look, guys, regardless of the volatility, regardless of what's going on in the price, we are active and we are capitalizing on trades daily. We win some, we lose some, but the account is doing relatively well, and we're honest, we're fully transparent. You can track all of it on this dashboard. The links are in the description. You do get 30 days free access for the Profits Precision platform. And again, if you do enjoy the content, please like and subscribe to the channel, and our Telegram link is connected below. Let's summarize the video. Bitcoin on the weekly is replicating a bull trap setup that it's done from the past. The weekly order block is currently being respected, but there is weakness with targets of 50k waiting below if we lose structure. And the 4-hour shows us the deciding moment where we initially saw the rejection. Our trades, ETH is going fantastically well. Stop loss has been moved to break even. Our target is $1,785. Aave we missed out on, but you win some, you lose some. And as always, join the free Telegram. Come and be a part of the community, guys. The link is in the description. I'll see you all again soon.